Good morning. Friday morning, and I thought I'd do a brief catch up as usual. A little bit earlier actually than last week. Uh, I thought I've had a bit of a debilitating week, really. Um, I've got my brace back on, um, and I've got pain sort of back on the ulnar side of my wrist. Now, this has been an ongoing problem for, gosh, a few months now, or longer than a few months actually. But yeah, it's been going on for a while, and I was supposed to see a hand specialist quite a few months ago now. I was sort of avoiding it really because of the expense. Obviously, you have to pay to see the hand specialist, and then you'll probably have to pay for, well, you definitely have to pay for a brace and all the other treatment that goes with it. So I've bitten the bullet and I've given them a ring, and I'm going to see them on Monday. Now she said to me on the phone, she said we've got all your X-rays and all that type of stuff, which is good. So they've sort of liaised with my GP about it, and obviously it's concerning. I mean, look, the weather in Australia has changed dramatically. So over the last week, it's got significantly colder. So I've actually had electric blanket on. God, it's still it's still 20 25, 26, 27 outside, but at night the temperature really does drop, and it's quite yeah, desert temperatures really. And it sort of takes me back to when I was first in Perth and that blasted cold winter we had then. It was awful. And I'm wondering if it's got something to do with that. I'm not too sure. Um, if it has, then that's going to be arthritis related, clearly. Uh, I don't know actually what else it could be. It's difficult trying to decipher exactly what's going on. And obviously, as you would expect, I've done a bit of reading about it, but the wrist itself is quite it's a difficult one to diagnose because there's so many intricate bones and all the rest of it. It's just difficult to work out. All I know it's that side of my hand up to there. It's very painful there, and from the X-rays I had done, quite a few months ago now, there was shards of bone in there. It's as if the wrist itself had been broken at some stage. Now, I can't for the life of me think of when or if that ever happened. It may well have happened when I was a youngster and I just didn't know. There was one, there was one incident, and it takes me back actually. And I was going out with Gran actually, Granny Light, and I remember we were walking over the road from where we lived in Nash Way, in Perham. And I always used to carry this Wade Whimsy around with me, this little giraffe. And I remember distinctly falling over just before I got to the curb. I must have been, God, no more than what, six, maybe less than that, 6 years old. And I remember falling over and hurting my hand a lot. And back in the day, your mum would turn around to you and say, "Put a plaster on it. It's fine. Don't worry about it." Today, in this day and age, we'd be straight to A&E. They'd be panicking and all the rest of it. But back then, it was just, "Oh, get on with life. It's fine. Not a problem. Man up." So it may have something to do with that. I mean, I remember at the time I had the test done, I asked the doctor, because she said mentioned about shards of bone there, and I remember her saying to her, well, how long ago could that be? And she said, well, it could be any length of time. Nobody knows. Can't tell. So I don't know. And obviously, when you have an injury in a certain area as well, it's you're more prone to arthritis there. So that's all I can think of. But you know, who knows? I just hope it's not, because obviously when you Google stuff, you come up with all sorts of bits and pieces. And we talk about rheumatoid arthritis, which generally starts in the wrist, and I'm like, oh no, not that's a bad one. I know someone who had that or has got it, and it is bad. So I'm just hoping to God it's not that. Who knows? Um, Election. Wow. So I do follow the British news quite vociferously, and I was shocked. I was probably like the rest of the country that Sunak has actually called the election now, especially after such a disastrous local election results. I mean, look, they've had good inflation results, but that's about it, really. I mean, I don't live in Britain. Living in Australia, I feel comfortably off. If I was to ask you how you feel living in the UK at this moment in time, can you honestly turn around to me and say you're feeling well off, you're feeling comfortable, you're feeling good, you're feeling happy, etc., etc.? Are you really? Now, I don't know why he's done that. It's kind of like sabotaging your own government, really. But maybe he's got stuff in the pipeline. You know, I look, I detest Rishi Sunak, not for the person he is. He might be a perfectly nice person, but his politics is just vile. He, despite his heritage, he is a racist, along with a lot of other members of his cabinet, and that's a strong word to use. But that man, along with cabinet members past and present, are absolutely racist, and there's no other word for it. And it shocks me. I mean, look, when you go back to the Conservative governments of the past, Margaret Thatcher and all the rest of it, you kind of knew where you stood. And I can't remember a time where a government has been so disastrous, chaotic, terrible, and they are moving so far to the right in order to, I don't know, protect their conservative credentials, maybe, to prove they're more right wing than most right wing party in the country. I have no idea, but it is pretty shocking. And when you look at the news from Australia, it's, I suppose it really sort of gets to your core even more, because you don't live it, because you're not living in that country and you don't see what's going on, and you just see these snippets from what's been happening. It kind of strikes home more, and you think, my God, that country really is going through the mire. And it is down to that government. That government seriously needs to go. Look, I live in Australia. I'm entitled to vote in the UK election, which I will be doing. I did register to vote probably about 6 months ago now, so I'm allowed to vote, and I will be voting. My vote is. I'm not going to tell you what my vote is. I think you could probably guess, but it's not going to be Conservative. Put it that way. Somebody said to me, "Why are you voting in an election when you no longer live there?" Because I am entitled to. I am entitled to vote in that election. Actually, I'm not allowed to vote in an Australian election, general election. So that's out of the question. But I can still vote in British elections. I think, what are we now? 2024. I think in about a year and a half, I'm allowed to apply for Australian citizenship, which I will be doing, and at that point, I will be allowed to vote in all elections here. But I'm going to exercise my rights because I am so disgusted with that current government. I mean, look, my future in Spain was jeopardised through them. There were lies told about Brexit. There were cover-ups during COVID. There was money given out to all and sundry, and mainly Tory party donors and, friends of MPs and, for dodgy PPE, etc., etc. It's the most corrupt government I've ever known. Yeah, Margaret Thatcher would have gone absolutely mad about the people running the country. And I know they're saying, you know, they're conservatives, but they're not conservatives in the same way Margaret Thatcher was. And even the most ardent Conservative supporter would know that. These people are not of the same mould. So, entirely up to you who you vote for, obviously. So apart from that, it's been an okay week. Working pretty hard. Yeah, it has got colder significantly. So it's, you sort of, I almost feel like I should be waiting for bonfire night because obviously in the UK, you'd be sort of heading into the autumn now. We are heading into the autumn here. You're heading into your summer, but it actually beginning to feel like, Halloween, and I still haven't adjusted fully to the opposite seasons here, which is very strange. So and yeah, we're still planning for Taiwan. So we're planning for that in November. All being well, and the world hasn't imploded and all the rest of it. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. Again, we're trying to work out the best course of action to do this. This isn't an easy one, Taiwan, actually. So the other ones have been easier, and it's expensive. Once you're in Taiwan, it's fine, but getting to Taiwan, a little bit more expensive. But accommodation is the sticking point, really. So, yeah, keeping fit and healthy, still doing all that. So I'm still walking as much as I possibly can. What have I lost this week? I've lost about 3 kilos this week. So I'm keeping my body in check. I'm doing all the right things. And yeah, do you know, I haven't got my glasses on today because they're filthy dirty and they need a good clean. And I can't see out of them. And I was in such a rush this morning. What I do is when I get up, something to eat, have a shower, get back in bed because it's warm. And obviously, there's no central heating in Australian houses at all. So, a nice warm bed is perfect. And then I tend to just catch up with Sky News, to my other half's horror, who hates it, while he's in the family room catching up on Australian news, which is not the same as British news, really. It's quite banal Australian news. So, yeah. So, a very normal week. Anyway, got to go. I've been on this, 13 and a half minutes, and I've got to get to work shortly. So, I'm at work, actually, but I've got to clock in. So, lots of love. Speak to you next week. Ciao.